Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us here. My name's Andy Johns, and I am the marketing director for WordSouth, Pioneer, and ARC. And I am joined today by Megan McCoy-No, who is the brand storyteller for the three companies. So this is our first webinar that we are doing together, as the new companies are all one big happy family now. So we are excited that you guys are here. Looks like we got a great group of attendees. Megan, thanks for hosting with me today.
Of course, I'm excited.
Great. Well, I'll be closing the poll here in just a minute. Looks like just about everybody participated. So now's your last chance to weigh in on the poll before we share the results. Looks like on there we asked you, what will you miss most about 2020? Looks like having an excuse to cancel plans with people you wanted to avoid is the winner. And we'll just know that the 5 people that selected other down here, they probably had the person they were trying to avoid on the call, and they just didn't want to out themselves. So those 12% down there, we know your game. So well, I'm looking forward to running through this. We've got a really good session here. I'm trying to get the poll, out of the way here. What we're going to be talking about today is preparing you for 2020 and 2021. Sorry. All right, now I've got the
I was going to say no one was prepared for 2020.
Well, and that's a good segue there. So we're if we had done this at this time last year, obviously there's a lot of stuff, Megan, that we would not have been prepared for. But as we go through this, if you have any questions, please throw them in the chat. We'll get to those at the end. But Megan, let's go ahead and jump in. If we were looking at this time last year, there was a lot of stuff we didn't know.
There was so much we didn't know, like how much childcare meant to my life. No, it's been a really interesting year, right? I mean, there's some things that we knew we needed to talk about in 2020. I work with a lot of folks in the Northwest, and wildfires have been like a big thing that we knew we were going to have to talk about. We didn't know how big it would be in 2020, but still. So there's some things we knew to expect. We did not know that there'd be a raging debate in the chat box right now about how good all of you look in your masks. So we couldn't have imagined that, hurricane communications. Sure, okay, we're going to have to deal with that. But what about social distancing during outage restoration? That's not something we've ever had to talk about before. So there were things we could plan for, and then all these really fun surprises that we kept getting thrown at us. I'm sure you guys are really excited about a new year so that we can put all of this craziness behind us quickly. So one of the things that Andy and I started talking about, especially as I got to know him, we just talked about what can we do looking ahead to kind of prepare ourselves for what might be coming. Hopefully all good things, but how can we prepare ourselves so that we have kind of a safety net for all of our communication channels, for any crises that might come down the pike. And that's how we really created our guide. And I'm really excited. You guys get it first. Try not to gloat to the rest of your telco and public power friends. But we created a guide to help you really think about how to prepare yourself for 2021, right? We know better now. We've learned, right? And we know how important communication planning is to be ready to deal with anything that comes our way. So first up, I would encourage you, as you're looking ahead at 2021, take a day, find a day somehow, and just mark it off on your calendar for planning. Give yourself time where you don't have any other Zoom meetings, or if you're in the office, you're not going to be worrying about people crossing you too closely in the hallways without masks on. Just give yourself time to really think about planning. A lot of what we've done in 2020 has been incredibly reactive, and I want you to take a step back and be proactive with your content. So take a step back, find a day, think about what you need to talk about in 2021. I had a friend in Arkansas, Peggy, who I love her, because what she would do is she would bake cookies for her team. She had 3 other members of her communication team, and she would invite them to her home don't do this in 2020, just bear that in mind. But she would invite them to their home, give them cookies. They'd get into a different place, kind of a different mindset, and just talk about what they need to talk about and plan for the next quarter. They would do that quarterly. So you can either plan for the entire year, or if you haven't done that before, plan for the next quarter, or then maybe the next 6 months, and think about what you need to talk about to be effective for your utility. The second thing, once you have that time set aside, the second thing I encourage you to do is think about your goals. We have certain channels that we know we're responsible for, whether that's keeping your website up to date, maybe it's keeping social content pumping, you have your magazine pages that you need to do, bill inserts. So those are just the channels, though. What are your goals? One of the things that I love, a friend of mine, Pam at Blatchley Lane Electric in Oregon, she does this so well. She looks to her managers and her board and sees what their strategic goals are for the year. And she finds ways to weave her communication planning to support all of those goals. And it's easy to forget, for some of us, it's easy to forget that there is a strategic plan in place for your telco, for your public power utility. Check back with that and see, what are you supposed to be communicating about? Maybe what did you miss in 2020? We all missed a lot this year. But see what the goals are and find ways to weave that in your channels, right? Look at the big picture. And to help you do that is number 3. Once you've thought about your communication goals for the year, create a list of key messages, topics that you need to talk about this year. All right, so this can be, and by this year I mean in 2021, maybe it's more about your tree trimming practices because the wildfires were such a big issue for you. Maybe it is focusing on diversity in your leadership, right? Maybe it's focusing on if you have a big program that you're debuting next year. Maybe you need to make sure you talk about that program at certain times throughout the year. Maybe you have an anniversary coming up, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But if you have a big date coming up, do not let it surprise you at the 9th hour. So I'd encourage you to create a list, and we'll show you a spreadsheet that we have to kind of help you get started thinking about those big ideas, big topics you need to talk about next year. The next thing, number 4, that we would encourage you to do is use this content planner and add these topics across all of your channels. We get you started with ideas for your local pages and for bill inserts. And we have some check places for you to mark off where else these messages could be used. But you can really go in depth in these areas to make sure that that topic doesn't just appear in one place. As we have gotten more into digital communications, digital has taken this huge place in our lives, right? And we're really focused maybe on social content or keeping our websites up to date. But you have to have the same information across all of your channels because some of your consumers are going to prefer hearing from you in certain ways. And you never know which ways those are. So you kind of have to use a buckshot approach and get it all across the board. So make sure using the content planner to think about all the different ways that you can get the message out there. And the last thing that we would encourage you to do is to check back in with your plan. You can have the best plan in the world, but if you set it and then forget about it, it's not really going to help you out. If we've learned nothing else in the last year, Andy, we've learned things change rather quickly sometimes. And I think the best communication plan, the best content plan out there is one that is responsive. So you have your plan, you check back in with it, but then you also realize it's going to need to change throughout the year. So we have some examples of these tools. You're going to be getting them this afternoon. But I would encourage you not just to brainstorm, let's think about this, write down some amazing ideas, and then walk away. Instead, we really hope that you use this to kind of refer to throughout the year to help keep you on track and keep you kind of focused. So without further ado, we'll show you what you're going to be getting later on this afternoon.
Well, one bit of ado.
Oh, yes.
we will be, I've got that email set to go out to everybody at 1 o'clock Eastern time. So you'll be getting that, in case I didn't say it earlier, you'll be getting the email with the PDF about 1 o'clock today where you can go through all this yourself. Sorry, Megan, no more ado from me.
No worries, it's all good. All right, so the first part of this content planning guide is an area for you to write those key messages and really think about what you want to talk about next year. And I'm not going to say you need to have a different message for every month, because honestly, I think some messages need to stretch across 1 month or two. What I would encourage you to do is think about up to 6 things you need to talk about in 2021. Jot down those ideas, and then we've got a place for you to say what month you want to target for that communication, and places where you can just check off the different channels to think about for that. Again, we tend to think about 1 or 2 channels as the things we have to do, but a lot of us have our magazines, we have newsletters that supplement our magazines, we have bill inserts that go out, we have different community events that are coming up. Maybe the message warrants a press release that you're going to want to make sure you get out there. Or a lot of folks forget on-hold messaging. I mean, we had our on-hold messaging at my distribution co-op. It would just be the same thing all the time until we realized, oh, we can use that. And it was pretty easy for us to update our on-hold messaging to reflect whatever big push we had at our utility. Advertising is a big part of this. Social media content is part of this, and keeping your website up to date to reflect whatever your big message is each month. These are all things that we know, but we tend to forget. So if you write this all down, then at the beginning of each month, you can check it and say, what am I supposed to be talking about right now? This is going to help you take those ideas, make sure that you are able to use them to enact change and have more cohesive content across all of your channels. So, key messages, think about that. And next step, a lot of us have local pages. Now, when you have those local pages differs. I know at Pioneer, we have some folks that have a magazine every month and that they have local pages to plan for. Some of our members only have content every 2 months. I know a lot of telcos that work with WordSouth are in that same situation where they have it every 2 months. We've got a couple people that just have a magazine every quarter. So whenever you are using local pages, this is a guide to help you with that. So just circle the months when you know you need content. And then we broke this out into some types of content that can help you get those key messages across. So you look at your key messages, and then you look at the months where you want to focus on them, and think about ideas, ways to really make those messages shine for your consumers and come through. That can either be a news story. I love features. Personally, I'm a storyteller, so I get very excited when people find a really fun way to feature a topic and have a personal spin on it, show the story. Maybe it's program profiles. If the key topic you have is a new program or a new offering that you're releasing, find people that have experienced it, that really like it, and can share from their point of view the impact of the program and share that story. Just write down the names of people that you want to highlight, right? Think about it ahead of time. Editorials, think about how you can use your management's voice to really connect with your consumers. Maybe you have efficiency content or safety content that you need to make sure you get out there. Or again, there could be events coming up. And this is just a way to get you thinking about the types of content you can share on your local pages. There's plenty of space for you to add other content that you want to make sure you plan ahead for. Again, this is just to get you thinking about the impact of content planning. The other area that we provide a quick spreadsheet for you on is bill inserts. Now, I was sharing this story with Andy at my distribution co-op in Georgia. Bill inserts were always the last thing we thought about, which is really kind of silly because we could have planned ahead for a lot of them. And I know that that has changed now, and they do a really effective job with their bill inserts. But when I was there, we could put up to 3 bill inserts out every month. And it always came down to, oh, okay, what have we already got designed? All right, let's just send that out, right? And it doesn't have to be that way. I mean, it's great to promote Operation Roundup every month because we already had that bill insert done, but what if there are other big messages that you're supposed to be getting across? The cool thing about bill inserts is that you don't have to do a ton of work in the moment for them. A lot of this content you can create in advance. We can help you with it. Maybe you can work with your partners in it and find out what bill insert materials they have and just plan ahead. Now, I've got 4 different types of bill inserts that I think of when I used to plan them. Maybe there's some news that you're going to be releasing and you know about ahead of time. Maybe there's a rebate. This is a really easy one for our telcos to work on, a promotion at certain times of the year, maybe that you want to be able to share with folks. You can plan ahead for that. Maybe it's a program profile or a testimonial. If you know ahead of time what programs you're really going to focus on and research that, get some testimonials ready, then you can have both local page content and your bill inserts done at the same time, and then just schedule them out when you need them during the year. Maybe it's a big event that's coming up, like your annual meeting. I know that's big for a lot of electric co-ops. There's things that you can plan ahead of time, get them done, or at least draft the templates, so that when you have a pandemic hit, you're not panicking, trying to figure out office closing signs and messages to try to encourage people not to run up to your line workers. Instead, you can focus on that, the immediate crises, and know that your communication channels are still running smoothly and you have everything you need kind of ready to go. There's also some required notices that it's easy to forget about. We have a list of required notices for both telco and public power communicators, things to think about and make sure you plan for. This is super easy for you to do. Bill inserts for, design it once and know that you have to have it come out once a year. You can look ahead at what month you think would be good for that message to come out, whether it's an annual meeting message, whether it's Lifeline, an anti-discrimination notice. That's something all of us have to do and we forget about sometimes. Get certain safety messages at times of year or efficiency messages. These are things that I know for some communicators, they are required to get a certain number of messages out. But if you have more crises hit you than you know what to do with, you might forget some of these required notices. Plan ahead. Make sure you know exactly when you're going to share these messages throughout the year, so that when 2022 hits, you're like, oh no, content planning. It's easy. Let's do it again.
Right. And of course, that is you may not be able to see the small font there, but that is a non-legally binding list. Consult your attorney on exactly what needs to be included there. But we've included some ideas. You could obviously add things like scholarship or youth tour, that kind of stuff on there as well.
Exactly.
So, but thanks, Megan. That's a really good overview. And looking forward is definitely appealing right now. So in 2021, there were a couple of big high-level things that I want to touch on right here at the beginning as to what's coming up. We like to kind of help you anticipate some of the things that will be coming up in the industries that we all serve. So you're not caught flat-footed with those, or so that you have a pretty good idea of what's coming. A couple of different ways that you can use what we're about to talk about. So some of them might be good for you, just a single social media post. And that may be all that, all that makes sense for you. In other cases, it might be a whole campaign you could build around one of these things. It could be the theme of your bill insert or your promotion that's coming out. You could, one of the things that I like to get people to think about at this point is something called newsjacking. And if you're not familiar with the term, that's when you take something that's coming up and you put your own spin on it. So if you know that, like we'll get into in this next slide, 2021 is going to be, some people have said it's going to be the year of the electric vehicle. Well, if you know that the Detroit Auto Show or the North American International Auto Show is coming up, that's a perfect time. On the telco side, you could certainly do one on the Consumer Electronics Show when you know there's going to be a lot out there about cloud gaming and virtual reality, augmented reality. That's a good time. If you know that's going to be in the news, you prepare a press release and some social media content, maybe a blog post, a newsletter article, saying, hey, this is what we're doing to prepare for this new wave of technology coming out. And you have that hit the news outlets right at the same time that these big national events are happening. It kind of raises people's awareness of consumer electronics or of electronic vehicles. It's a perfect time to do what we call newsjacking and try to get in there, get a little bit of coverage and help establish yourself as kind of the expert in the field. So there are a lot of different ways that you can use some of what we're about to talk about, but I wanted to go ahead and get into it. So on the technology front for 2021, you can expect the big new things in streaming will be Paramount Plus and Star, which is a new streaming service coming out from Disney. They've not announced exact dates on when those have been coming out, but Star from Disney is shows and films from ABC, FX, Freeform, Searchlight, 20th Century Studios. So it's going to have a lot of the content there. It'll be different from Disney Plus, which is an extra monthly fee, of course, there. But I'm hopeful that that's maybe how King of the Hill finally gets out to where I can stream all the episodes back to back to back. That's what I've been waiting for streaming folks to get on. The other one, Paramount Plus, is that is content from CBS, BET, Comedy Central, MTV, and then of course Paramount Studios. That will also include some original programming that they've got there, but be watching for that to come out later this year. 5G is going to stay in the headlines. It is becoming more of a reality for more and more communities around the country. So just know that that will be out there. Like I said, the electric vehicles, it's a big deal this year. There are 12 new electric vehicles slated to come out this year. GM is coming out with a pickup truck. Tesla is also supposed to be coming out with a truck this year. I think what I had read was the F-150 may have been pushed to, the electric F-150 may have been pushed to 2022. But either way, there are some new electric vehicles that are going to come out and get a lot of attention. So that might be a good time to start talking about what your utility is doing to get ready for for the whole neighborhood to start charging electric vehicles in the evenings. On the smart home front, you know, this is a personal passion of mine, which we'll have a blog post coming out on just how far smart home goes at my house in the coming months. But a couple of things that I'm excited about and a little afraid of. But Amazon Sidewalk is one thing that'll be coming out. It's expanding the network of your smart home out into the yards more, out to the sidewalk. Amazon has a product coming out called Fetch, which will let you know, it's a collar that your dog will wear, and if your dog leaves a certain area, it'll help you find him, which seems kind of handy, him or her. There's also a product called the Ring Always Home Cam, which is kind of crazy. It's a box, and it's connected to your security system. When something trips the security system, the drone flies up to go check it out for you if you're not home. No lasers attached to it yet, but I mean, that would be, you know, we may get there one day, but those are some of the big.
I mean, it's 2021. Who knows?
Sure. You know, so there will always be more smart home items coming out. So that's always something to keep in mind, what the new things are going to be there. PS5, the PlayStation 5, and Xbox X. Hopefully, if you are a broadband provider, you've taken advantage of the free content that we provided at wordsouth.com/gamers. If you download that, it's some help educating people. That's probably going to be the hot Christmas gift this year. But you can look for more games to come out throughout the year. That'll be just news in tech throughout the year. While the gaming scene may be going great, movies and TV outlook is looking kind of bleak. You know, there's a lot of shows that were not able to film this year on their normal schedule. So whereas normally we might, you know, be talking about some things in January when all the new shows are coming back, there are going to be some of those that don't come back right away. So the TV schedule may be a little different in terms of if you normally have a big promotion built around when Walking Dead comes back, or I think HBO has you know, several of the programs, True Detective and some of the others that people are anticipating. A lot of those have been postponed, so keep that in mind. The movies and of course the movie theater releases, a lot of those have been postponed from this year. Wonder Woman 84, Top Gun, several other big ones have been pushed to next year. With anniversaries, so it's time to start doing a little bit of math. I'll make this first one easy, but if you began offering internet service in 1996, which I know some of you, that was kind of a big year for internet service to launch back in the dial-up days, this marks 25 years of service there. So if that's something that applies to your company, that might be worth a campaign throughout the year, or some kind of anniversary logo, something like that to celebrate it. It's hard to believe the internet's been around for 25 years, but that's where we're at. And then think back to, if your company, I know there are a lot of telcos that were founded in 1951. So if you go back and look at when either your company was founded, or when you planted your first pole, or when you started selling a particular service, If you launched, some kind of TV product in 1986, 1991, if you launched a program that you are proud of and want to celebrate, and you started that in a year that ends in a 6 or an 11, you've got a significant anniversary this year. We're working on some kind of anniversary package that will, put a good price on a package that includes the anniversary logo and press release, social elements, chocolate, champagne, those kind of things that you do for anniversaries. And we'll work on that. Yeah, maybe not the champagne. That gets tricky to ship. But we'll be working on that for this year as well. So if you need a little help celebrating an anniversary like that, feel free to let us know. Getting a little more granular here as we jump into the actual months for the year. This will be in your the content guide that will be sent to you later this afternoon. But looking here at January, just some things to hit on real quick. Megan has outlined some of the dates over there on the left that could be fun. Cut Your Energy Cost Day, Get to Know Your Customers Day. In addition to that, there will be in January new seasons or series premieres of some shows that have been able to make it through. You'll also see a lot of news stories coming out in January about the 2020 census data. So that data will start coming out December 31st is when the big first information dump from the census is due to come out. So look for news outlets to have a lot of that in its coverage, analyzing population trends, that kind of stuff. There are always a lot of rural, urban population shift stories that come out in the news there. So that's something that you might want to try to get out in front of or have some information prepared for if anything like that makes sense. January is also the time when the Consumer Electronics Show is happening. So there's always some news coming out about the gadgets and everything. They've not postponed that, but surely if there's any event around the world that can move to virtual pretty easily, it would be the Consumer Electronics Show, you would hope. College football national championship is in January. That's relevant to the people on the call from Alabama or South Carolina. There are a lot of states where that's just irrelevant to you, so don't worry about it. But it's also in January is the Grammy Awards will be coming out as well. So there's always some music news there. Anything else to add for January or anything else the year as a whole, Megan? I meant to check in and see if there was anything that you wanted to add before we got into the month. So I'm sorry for just running right through it.
I think, I enjoy the planning element of the guide that we've already walked through, but honestly, this calendar, and we have this throughout the entire year, and Andy's going to run through it, but this has me really excited because we curated industry content for you. So you can find all kinds of days of the year. If you go to daysoftheyear.com, you can get all of these crazy internet celebrations, and we've included a few of them in here. But what we have done every month is kind of broken out some of those events and given you ideas of ways that you can make it relevant for telcos and public power communicators, ways that you can connect those industry dates, those holidays, with your consumers. So a lot of this is just engagement opportunities to get you to think ahead. I'll never forget, there was a day, it was, I think Dr. Seuss Day, and everybody was super excited day of saying, I need help, I need ideas for celebrating this. Don't think about it at the last minute. Instead, you get to plan ahead, and we broke down the entire year for you. And if you have ideas, things that we missed, send them our way because this is a living, breathing document. But this is a great way to get your year started. I like planning, and this calms my soul to have everything kind of in one place for the year where I can see that, and there's plenty of space for you just to jot down other stuff that you want to make sure you address each month. So this makes me happy, Andy.
We should have done that for the tagline for this webinar. Come to our webinar, it will calm your soul. So I think we all need a little bit of that.
Like content planning, chicken soup for this all.
Right. Looking at February, we'll go ahead. Don't worry about taking the notes of all of these because it will be in that content planner that's coming your way this afternoon. But February, Black History Month, American Heart Month. There's some other days over there, including Safer Internet Day. We've got, in addition to that, a Super Bowl is one of the big cultural events, obviously, Groundhog Day. Mardi Gras is kind of early this year, I think. February 16th is when that's happening. New York Fashion Week happens in February, so that'll be in the news. There may be some wearable technology items coming out of there, or it might just be the kind of thing culturally to be aware of. The Academy Awards are scheduled for February in some shape, form, or fashion. It'll be different than normal. And then, of course, you've got the big holiday with Valentine's Day right there in the middle. I know some folks do some fun stuff for that. President's Day is also in February. In March, Women's History Month, Credit Education Month. We've got World Wildlife Day, Employee Appreciation Day is something fun that I know a lot of the companies do something with. Women's Day, Ag Day, obviously a big deal in rural communities. March 2nd, Read Across America Day. There's another reading day on here we'll get to in a minute, but it's an opportunity to go ahead and maybe have your staff read with local elementary school kids or middle schoolers if you want to, but I mean, we all know the elementary schoolers are cuter. So if you go with in technology, South by Southwest is planned to happen the 16th to the 20th of March in some shape, form, or fashion. So there's usually some media and technology news that comes out of South by Southwest. St. Patrick's Day on the 17th. In the sports world, March Madness is going on in March, obviously. We've got the first day of baseball season, and they've kind of targeted March for the month when that Paramount Plus might be coming out, like I talked about earlier. So a lot of good stuff coming out in March as we move into spring.
And I'll just make a quick note, Andy. Under a lot of these dates, we have hashtags that can help you join national conversations about the day. But for some places, like Ag Day, it's a website with resources for you, press releases and social media templates. So you'll see that throughout the guide, and they're hyperlinked in the PDF that you'll receive. But there are ways that you can go ahead and get a jump on content. Whenever we know about them, we included them in the guide for you.
Excellent. Thanks for bringing that up. So on April, obviously we've got April Fool's Day. Put up a quick poll about that. Easter will be coming up then. Tax Day, Earth Day, Arbor Day, so a couple of environmental days. National Line Workers Day is obviously one to focus on. For fun, April 17th is Haiku Poetry Day, which is always one that I make sure everybody celebrates at the WordSouth office. So I know that all of my coworkers are looking forward to April 17th for that.
Are you a 575 man?
Absolutely. That's the only
big
way.
question.
Only way
Okay.
there should be.
Not
Honestly,
everybody
I have to Google the syllable count every April 17th to make sure that I've got the format right. All right, so it looks like only 15% of you guys say that it's a terrible idea to do any kind of April Fool's prank. But, the option is out there. So, all right.
I think after 2020, people are like, anything you do might be construed as real. There's no, like, murder hornets. That's not a thing. Oh, but it is. Right. Maybe that's why pranks aren't as big right now.
Right. May, the big one, obviously, for a lot of the folks on the call, National Electrical Safety Month. Important to talk about that. National Teachers Day, right there. There's Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. I know we got some Kentucky folks on the call, so you know that May means Kentucky Derby. It's also Mother's Day, Cinco de Mayo, Memorial Day, so some big holidays there. Moving on to June, National Dairy Month, Great Outdoors Month, and Safety Month. So those are all things that you could play off of. World Wi-Fi Day, that's fun, on June 20th. Might be good for either a promotion or an event, something like that. Social Media Day on June 30th. Definitely a time to do something on your social media platforms. In addition to that, the Apple Worldwide Developers Conference is almost always in June. They haven't officially announced dates for next year, but that's usually a time when Apple announces some new product rollouts and things like that that will be whatever they have planned. That's normally when it'll come out. Beyond that, you've got Father's Day being the big holiday in the month. There's usually a national selfie day towards the end of June, and then the Tour de France is scheduled for the end of June through the beginning of July. So an opportunity there as well. Moving on to the summer, Park and Recreation Month is July, Indie Retailer Month. So it could be a good opportunity to highlight some local businesses. July 1st is Joke Day, which I apologize to my WordSouth coworkers that I was not aware of, but we will be aware of it this year. So get ready for that. And Megan,
maybe they were aware of it and just didn't tell you.
I believe that. I believe that. There's the Electric Co-op Youth Tour. The national one is happening in July. Usually the statewide tours will be at a different point in the year. So make sure to put that on your calendar. International Day of Friendship. That'll be pleasant. Beyond that, a couple of other things to keep in mind. Top Gun Maverick, which is one of the most anticipated movies of this year, has been pushed to July 2nd of next year. So that'll be exciting to come out right around 4th of July. Usually July is when Amazon Prime Day does, has the discounts. This year it was pushed later, but that's kind of become a mini Black Friday in the middle of the summer. And that's definitely a time if your broadband network, if you have a broadband network and can pull some stats from there about Black Friday or about the previous year Amazon Prime Day, that's definitely the opportunity to send a press release to the local outlets and say, our local network saw this kind of spike in online shopping last year at Amazon Prime Day, because there's a good chance that there may be some kind of story in the newspaper about that. And as a former, Megan and I are both former newspaper people, actually. There's a lot of times when you've got that national story about something that's going on and you're looking for what we would call a local hook. So some kind of local angle on it. And if you provide a week before the holiday that, hey, this is the network spike that our data usage saw last year around these big shopping days, that would definitely be the kind of thing to get you in the media potentially. Last thing for July, the opening ceremonies of the Tokyo Olympics will be July 23rd. So that was postponed from this year. Hopefully everything is cleared up and in good shape to have those next year, because I know that's something a lot of people look forward to. On the streaming front, that was one of the things that NBC really wanted to anchor their Peacock streaming service to, was all the Olympic coverage coming out this year. NBC airs the Olympics. It's a huge ratings boost for them, and they were really kind of hanging the whole Peacock launch on the Olympic coverage. And with that being postponed, they went ahead and released the streaming service without it. And it's done okay, but I think the NBC folks will tell you that that was something that really changed their plans for what they felt would be a successful product launch. So if you had something go sideways like that because of the pandemic, you are not alone. Moving into August, so back to school month is the big theme there. World Wide Web Day is a thing on August 1st. Photo Day is August 19th. Importantly, August will be the new date for our Story Connect conference that WordSouth does. We work really hard to make it the best utility communicator and broadband marketing conference anywhere. And that's going to be in the Great Smoky Mountains here in Tennessee. It'll be one of those last 2 weeks in August. We're postponing it from March. So we'll get those final dates to you pretty quick there. But I did want to talk a little bit about back to school. So this was a totally unscientific survey that we did at one of our Story Connect conferences. We asked folks who were there around which of the following annual events do you typically design promotions or campaigns? And I think the room skewed towards broadband providers. So that's part of what's built into the numbers. Almost 100% of the folks in the room did some kind of promotion or campaign around Christmas. But look at the number 2 thing up there. Back to school was the second thing that people did some kind of campaign or promotion around. So as you're filling out your August planner here, make sure to think about something for back to school. When we ask them which annual promotions or campaigns typically yield the highest response or success, you see Christmas is the number 1, but then back to school is right behind it at number 2. I think on the other there, it was a collection of Veterans Day, Memorial Day, and a couple of the patriotic holidays fell into that one. But you see right there, back to school. Number 1, it's good that the folks that we surveyed the most frequent one they do is also the most effective, and the second most frequent one they do is the second most effective. So that's a good sign. If those results were flipped, we'd have some questions. But keep that in mind as you're planning it. Back to school is a big time, especially on the broadband side of things. Folks are opening up the wallet to buy school supplies, and even without virtual school, it's a big opportunity to sell some upgrades and get folks moved up to that higher package to make school a little bit easier when it starts back.
I was going to say, just looking at this and imagining that was before the big push for virtual learning, it might even flip in 2021 because so many people have realized the importance of having a good connection at home.
You're right. I wouldn't be surprised to see that flip. Only thing that might keep Christmas at the top this year would be those game systems coming out. But either way, those are both huge times to do that. So September, some of the dates on there: Read a Book Day. Like I talked about earlier, it's a great chance to get some good photos of your staff reading books to kids at schools. There's a Video Game Day in September, a Podcast Day, which WordSouth folks are big fans of podcasts. If you're not aware, WordSouth does a couple of different podcasts that reach out for a lot of utility communicator topics. So September 30th is a fun day there. I don't know if I said it earlier, but it's Hispanic Heritage Month and National Wilderness Month. At the end of September on into early October, that's when the North American International Auto Show happens in Detroit. So that's a big time for a lot of automotive news. All of the the companies that are rolling out electric cars will have models that they're showing off and having fun with there in September. So it's going to be in the news and all over social media. Might be a good opportunity to talk about what your co-op is doing to help get ready for the electric vehicles. October, everybody knows, it probably applies to most people on the call. National Co-op Month is then. It's also National Energy Awareness Month and Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So I think between those three things, that hits everybody in the call, has something to talk about during that time. Fun day to celebrate. You could celebrate Siri's birthday on October 4th. If you don't believe me, just ask her on your phone. Public Power Week, Customer Service Week. We provided some items for you guys to help salute customer service, member service reps there. Fire Prevention Week, and then Internet Day, October 29th. National Child Safety Protection Month, Native American Heritage Month, and Men's Health Month in November. If we did Siri's birthday, we have to also do the Amazon Echo birthday. I will not say her name because I've got one nearby and she's going to turn off the lights or something if I say her name there. But you've also got World Kindness Day, Small Business Saturday, Giving Tuesday, Black Friday, Thanksgiving. So quite a few items towards the end of the month that you can hopefully get involved with as well there. Lastly, in December, we've got an International Day of Persons with Disabilities. That is something that comes into play with making sure that your services are usable, that your website is available to folks that have accessibility issues. Children's Day, Microwave Oven Day. It's kind of fun. Who knew? But right after Thanksgiving, so that makes sense that it would be everybody reheating those leftovers. Microwave Oven Day. Winter solstice, although that's probably also not legally binding advice there because December 6th is really getting a little too far after Thanksgiving to still be eating the leftovers, but you do you. National App Day, December 11th, and then obviously you've got the Christmas and New Year's holidays in there at the end of the year. So Megan, that'll just about wrap up everything that we had to cover. I was going to talk a little bit about the webinars we have coming up in 2021 to share with folks there, but is there anything that as we looked over the year that you wanted to add?
Well, I've been having so much fun in the chat with all of you guys, and I realized that some messages are going just to panelists, and then some messages are going to panelists and attendees. So if you see me saying, that's an amazing idea, but you didn't see the idea, sorry about that. But it's really cool. Some of the feedback that's been coming in is that during Public Power Week in October, it's also 4-H week. And so Teresa at Laston, she combines those celebrations and always promotes their local 4-H club. I know I've got some friends in Missouri that have done the same thing. They actually have a really big push for 4-H in their community through their annual meeting. So there are some other great ideas that are coming in. What we will do is go through the chat. I'm going to pull off some of the ideas y'all are sending us and make sure in future versions of this guide that we mention those as well, because there are all these great ways that you can engage your community. And the more we think ahead for that, the stronger our content planning will be and the closer we'll be to our consumers, which is kind of the goal of all of this, right?
Definitely. And I'm sorry I missed out on all the action in the chat. There's a lot going on there. I'll have to go back through it.
There's so much going on. It's so much more than just maskwear, Andy. It's fun. But I love that. And I know that this is the first time I've really been able to meet some of these communicators, especially from telcos, public power communicators. I've known you guys and love you guys. We've been together for a while now, but for all the new folks that I'm meeting, this is really exciting. And the reason I love our community is that we share ideas. There's no, I'm going to keep that idea for myself. It's a huge family. And I'm really seeing that come across on the telco side as well. So I'm excited at the potential of getting these ideas from both sides, pulling them together in one document and learning together about how we can all prepare ourselves for whatever is coming next.
For whatever it is. Yes. And that's a good segue into the next time we can get together. So we'll have 9 webinars planned for next year. Some of the topics include advertising and messaging. We'll do that the day after the Super Bowl. We've got other sessions coming up on outage responses, digital advertising, communicating with people who aren't like you, spooky social media stories, writing for the web. We've got a lot of good content coming out for webinars to share with you guys next year. We'll be sending the information out about that here in December and January. Like I said, you can expect a few more little updates like that from us in the email that'll be coming out at 1 o'clock Eastern time today. That'll have that PDF in there for you guys to dig into the planner as it is. And you guys can take a look, and we'll be updating that throughout the year. It will also be available on all 3 of the company websites for reachthearc.com, pioneerutilityresources.com, and wordsouth.com. So Megan, before we go, were there any questions in the chat that we needed to answer, or does that, did we cover?
Yeah, I haven't seen any questions. It's mainly been folks just sharing ideas of things that they plan ahead for, things like National Preparedness Month in September. So Courtney, thank you for reminding us about that. We'll make sure we get that in another version. Disability awareness on the world stage, that was last weekend. Jennifer was excited about that. I know that we've had some suggestions on recipes for using old food, which Matthew is very excited about. I think, what, 11 days old food, no problem with his special blend. So very exciting news. Again, it's just a lot of great ideas. Mary had a good idea about sharing ebooks and donating books focused on energy efficiency and renewable resources. So again, it just really shows all the different ways that we can share ideas, brainstorm together, and have stronger content planning as a result of it. I'm excited.
Yep. Those books, we've done a podcast on those books, but there are some opportunities there. I know the Berenstain Bears have a book about internet safety, which my son's class went through this year. And he came home and was telling, he's in 3rd grade, was telling us about how, you know, if you get on the internet, there could be people out there trying to get your information, and they could try to get your address, and you know, scary. And I said, well, how did that make you feel? And he said, it made me really glad I don't know our address. I said, well, that's one takeaway there, I guess. So he's safe. But I appreciate you guys taking the time to join us on there. I know Mark had requested some more of the smooth jazz elevator music, so we do have a couple minutes of that after we sign off here. But I appreciate your time. Look for that message, and I look forward to getting to know you all a little better. Thanks, Megan, for taking the time to do this.
Thanks, Andy. Bye, guys.